Hey everyone, this is Six Path Weeb, and welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving into an intriguing what-if scenario that reimagines the Naruto universe. What if Naruko carried a rare dōjutsu within her bloodline? Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in these videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. With that said, let's get started. The brightest birthday. Uzumaki Naruko was a 7-year-old girl, full of energy and dreams. But to most villagers, she was unfairly called different. Naruko never understood why so many people avoided her instead of showing kindness. They gave her uneasy looks, whispering behind her back, which only made her more determined to shine. It was October 10th, 7 years since the 9-tailed fox had been sealed away. More importantly, it was Naruko's birthday. On her 7th birthday morning, she decided she wasn't going to spend it alone. Ichiraku's, here I come, Naruko shouted cheerfully as she ran down the street. She stood at 4 feet 2 inches tall, with sunshine blonde hair, sparkling cerulean eyes, and 6 whisker-like markings, 3 on each cheek, that gave her a foxy charm. Her orange jumpsuit was baggy but perfect for her carefree spirit. Ichiraku Ramen was her favorite place in the village, the one spot where she always felt welcome. Tuchi and Ayame Ichiraku, the kind father and daughter duo who ran the stand, always treated her as family. Today, Naruko planned to celebrate with them. On her way, 2 chunin wearing Konoha headbands approached her. "Hey, Naruko," one of them said with a friendly smile. Sorry, do I know you?" Naruko tilted her head curiously. The man laughed lightly. "My name is Fuzan, and this is my teammate, Hotari." Fuzan was tall and strong, with long black hair and sharp dark eyes. His comrade, Hotari, was slightly taller, with short brown hair and hazel eyes. Both wore the standard chunin flak jackets. "Nice to meet you," Naruko replied with her bright grin. "We heard it's your birthday today," Fuzan said warmly. "So, we wanted to give you a gift, teaching you a brand new ninjutsu." Naruko's eyes sparkled. "Really? A new jutsu? That sounds amazing. If you come with us to the training grounds, we'll show you. It's too strong to demonstrate in the village," Hotari explained. "Okay. Let's go," Naruko exclaimed without hesitation. She was thrilled at the thought of learning something new. The three made their way toward Training Ground 44, known for its massive trees and untamed nature. Naruko's excitement grew as they walked deeper inside. "Is this where you're going to teach me?" Naruko asked, looking around curiously. "That's right," Fuzan replied with a nod. Naruko clapped her hands. "So what kind of ninjutsu is it? A giant fireball? A water dragon? Oh, maybe something with lightning?" The 2 chunin exchanged glances, their smiles fading into something more serious. Before Naruko could ask further, Hotari suddenly rushed at her, lightly pushing her back against a tree. Naruko gasped in surprise, blinking rapidly. "Hey! What was that for?" she asked, confused and a little hurt. Instead of answering, Fuzan stepped forward with narrowed eyes. "You really don't know why the village treats you differently, do you?" Naruko tilted her head, puzzled. "Huh? What do you mean?" Hotari sighed. 7 years ago, when the 9-tailed fox attacked, it wasn't destroyed. Instead, it was sealed. Inside you. Naruko froze, her heart racing. "What? No way. That can't be true. Why do you think people whisper and glare?" Fuzan pressed. "They sense the power inside you." Naruko's chest tightened. For a moment, doubts swirled in her mind. She thought about the stairs, the distance, the way people treated her. But then she clenched her fists. "I'm not the 9-tails. I'm me. I'm Uzumaki Naruko," she shouted, her voice echoing through the trees. Just then, her chakra flared wildly, a pulse of energy radiating from her small frame. The force made the chunin stumble back in surprise. Naruko's cerulean eyes shifted, glowing with a mysterious red pattern, swirling like whirlpools. Fuzan and Hotari gasped. "What kind of eyes are those?" Naruko stood tall, her energy swirling around her. "You can call me whatever you want, but remember this, I am not a monster. I am Uzumaki Naruko, future Hokage." In a burst of speed, she disappeared and reappeared in front of them, moving faster than their eyes could follow. With a swift motion, she tapped Fuzan's shoulder, spinning him around, then dashed behind Hotari and pushed him gently aside, showing them her strength without causing harm. Both chunin staggered, unable to keep up. From the shadows, an Anbu with silver hair and a fox-patterned mask appeared, watching closely. He had been tailing the group the entire time, ready to protect Naruko if things went too far. Naruko looked at the Chunin, her glowing eyes fading back to cerulean blue. "If you really wanted to test me, you should have just asked," she said with a cheeky grin. "I'll get stronger no matter what anyone says." The Chunin were left speechless, and Naruko ran off toward Ichiraku's, determined not to let anything ruin her birthday. Up in the trees. The Anbu arrived just in time to witness the conclusion of the skirmish. His sharp eyes immediately focused on Naruko, and he noticed a striking transformation. Her gaze held a mesmerizing swirl pattern intertwined with 3 intersecting tomoe. Could that be a new dōjutsu? I've never encountered one like it before, the Anbu wearing the kitsune mask thought to himself. Even so, speculation could wait, what mattered most was that Naruko appeared safe. He silently chastised himself for allowing the situation to escalate under his watch. Resolving firmly, he vowed such carelessness would never happen again. His thoughts were interrupted as a figure appeared beside him. It was a young woman of average height with a slender frame. Her light brown eyes, lacking visible pupils, gave her an air of mystery. Her hair, black with a subtle blue tint, was styled into a short, spiky ponytail that fanned outward. She wore a custom outfit made of fine protective mesh tailored to fit gracefully along her figure, covering her from neck to thigh. Over it, she donned a tan overcoat with a purple lining and side pockets, paired with a dark orange skirt, a deep blue belt, pale gray shin guards, and a necklace adorned with a serpent-shaped charm. "What's the situation, Kakashi?" the woman asked, her tone sharp yet curious. "Anko? What are you doing here? Did you see what happened?" Kakashi responded, his voice carrying clear concern, a detail Anko did not miss. "I heard a disturbance and came to investigate. By the time I arrived, Naruko had already driven those troublemakers away with remarkable force," she explained, her expression reflecting distaste at the idea of anyone targeting a child. "It seems she didn't need our help after all," Anko added, glancing toward Kakashi, only to realize he had already disappeared. Back with Naruko. After the confrontation, Naruko attempted to walk toward a nearby tree for support, but exhaustion overtook her. Her eyes gradually returned to their familiar cerulean blue before her strength gave way. Just before she could fall, Kakashi swiftly caught her, lifting her onto his back with practiced ease. "Anko," Kakashi called, his voice calm but firm. The kunoichi gracefully descended to his side. "Hey, I was still talking to you, you know. But go on, what is it?" she replied with a playful pout. "Take those 2 captives to Lord Hokage and explain the situation. Tell him if he requires me, I'll be at my apartment, watching over Naruko," Kakashi instructed. Anko gave him a brisk nod in acknowledgement. Kakashi glanced at the girl resting peacefully against his shoulder. "Rest now, Naruko. You've more than earned it." With that, he leapt into the trees, carrying her gently toward safety. Kakashi moved swiftly from tree to tree, his expression clouded with concern. He had personally witnessed young Naruko accomplish something extraordinary, defeating 2 trained Chunin at only 7 years old, and perhaps awakening a mysterious eye technique. What disturbed him, however, was the thought that shinobi from the Hidden Leaf would go so far as to target a child. Kakashi silently vowed that such a situation would never repeat itself as he made his way back to his apartment. 10 minutes later. Kakashi arrived at his home, carrying Naruko, who slept soundly on his back. His apartment was simple yet comfortable, 1 bedroom, a small kitchen, a bathroom, and a living room that was slightly smaller than the bedroom but cozy nonetheless. He gently placed Naruko onto the couch, waiting patiently for her to awaken. Kakashi exhaled deeply. He knew the Hokage would have words for him soon, and right on cue, there was a knock at the door. Already anticipating who it was, Kakashi opened it to find the 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, standing there. The elderly Hokage, dressed in his traditional red and white robes and hat bearing the kanji for 3rd, greeted him warmly. Though advanced in age, he still carried the aura of the legendary title, the Professor and God of Shinobi. "Hello, Kakashi-san," Hiruzen said with a small smile. "Yo. What brings you to my place, Hokage-sama?" Kakashi replied with his usual smile. "Enough games, Kakashi. Where is Naruko-chan?" asked the Hokage, his tone sharp with worry. "She's resting on the couch. Would you like to come in?" Kakashi responded. Hiruzen nodded and stepped inside. The Hokage's expression softened as he saw Naruko sleeping peacefully, untroubled for the first time in what seemed like forever. He took a seat near the couch, watching her with gentle eyes. Kakashi, I told you not to involve yourself with her until you officially became her sensei. You're 6 years ahead of schedule, Hiruzen said sternly. Kakashi's face turned serious. She has spent her entire childhood misunderstood and treated unfairly. Just yesterday, Chunin led her into danger. I refuse to stand by and watch her face this alone. Hokage-sama, I intend to train her and guide her. It's the least I can do. The Hokage frowned but said nothing, allowing Kakashi to continue. Since birth, she has been struggling by herself. By age 5 she was turned away from the orphanage, left to survive on her own. She's been shunned in shops, ignored in the streets, and made to feel unwanted. Hokage-sama. Where was the protection she deserved? This is not the legacy her parents wished for her. Hiruzen lowered his gaze, quietly acknowledging the truth in Kakashi's words. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Finally, the Hokage sighed. You're right, Kakashi. I could have done more for her. Perhaps I've grown too weary with age. From this day forward, I give you permission to guide her. But she deserves to know the truth about why. Kakashi nodded firmly. Curious, Hiruzen asked. Anko mentioned that she saw something in Naruko's eyes. A possible dōjutsu. What do you know? I only caught a glimpse, Kakashi admitted. It resembled the Uzumaki clan's symbol, but with 3 tomoe forming a pupil. When it activated, her speed and perception improved dramatically. Hiruzen thought for a moment. Interesting. Our records hold no mention of such an ability. Perhaps the lost archives of Uzushiogakure might. In time, you and Naruko should investigate this mystery together. Before Kakashi could respond, a sleepy voice interrupted. Ready for what, Gigi? Naruko asked, rubbing her eyes as she sat up. The Hokage smiled warmly. Ah, so you're awake, my dear. How are you feeling? A little sore. But fine. Where am I? Naruko asked curiously. You're safe, Kakashi explained. After yesterday's events, I brought you here so you could rest. Naruko blinked, memories rushing back to her. She hesitated before asking softly, is it true? What they said? Am I the Nine Tails? Kakashi knelt beside her. You are not the Nine Tails. You are Naruko Uzumaki. The Nine Tails is sealed inside you, but it does not define who you are. Never forget that. The Hokage added kindly, your parents entrusted you with great strength, Naruko. You are special, but you are not what others wrongly claim. Naruko looked at them, conflicted but listening. How do you know all this? Because I promised your parents I would watch over you, Kakashi said gently. My parents? You knew them? Naruko asked in wonder. Kakashi nodded, glancing at Hiruzen before continuing. Your mother was Uzumaki Kushina, one of the strongest kunoichi I've ever known. And your father? Was Namikaze Minato, the 4th Hokage. They loved you with all their hearts. Naruko's eyes widened as Kakashi handed her a photograph of a smiling couple, a blonde man standing proudly beside a red-haired woman, her hands resting lovingly on her stomach. Tears welled in Naruko's eyes. They were my parents. They were extraordinary people, Naruko, Hiruzen said softly. They wanted you to be seen as a hero, but the village failed to understand. What matters now is how you choose to move forward. Kakashi placed a hand on Naruko's shoulder. And you won't have to face it alone. I'll train you, guide you, and help you become the shinobi your parents always knew you could be. Later that night, sitting atop the Hokage monument, Naruko opened a letter her father had left behind. Dear Naruko. If you are reading this, then your mother and I are no longer by your side. We are truly sorry we couldn't be there to raise you, to cheer for you, and to watch you grow. But know this, our love for you is boundless. Life may not always be easy, but within you lies incredible strength and kindness. That is what will carry you through. Naruko, I entrust to you not only the legacy of the Uzumaki and Namikaze but also my dream, to bring true peace to this world. Not through fear, but through compassion and understanding. I believe you will succeed where I could not. We love you endlessly, and we are proud of you. With love. Your father. Minato. Naruko clutched the letter close to her heart, tears sparkling in her eyes, but this time they were tears of hope. She stood tall against the night sky, determination in her voice. Thank you for believing in me, To-san. Ka-chan. I promise, I'll make you both proud. 15 minutes later, Naruko arrived at Training Ground 9 and quickly realized she was the first one there. She walked over to a nearby tree, leaned against the trunk, and took a deep breath. It was still a little while before noon, so she had some time to relax. Eager to begin her training, Naruko had left home earlier than necessary. After waiting another 15 minutes, she spotted Kakashi approaching. He was holding an orange book in one hand while his other arm carried a backpack slung over his shoulder. Naruko's sweat dropped when she heard him chuckle to himself, looking far too entertained by his reading. Just my luck, my sensei enjoys silly books, Naruko thought, standing up straight. Kakashi noticed her and calmly tucked his book away in his pouch. Yo, he greeted with his usual laid-back tone. He was genuinely pleased that Naruko had accepted his offer to train together and was excited to help her grow. I've been meaning to ask something, Naruko said, her voice carrying a mix of hope and curiosity. What's on your mind? Kakashi asked. Do I have any family out there, anyone I haven't met yet? Naruko's bright cerulean eyes shimmered with anticipation. Kakashi paused before answering gently, not by direct relation, at least none that I know of. Naruko's expression dimmed slightly, but Kakashi quickly continued. However, you do have a godparent who's still alive. Her eyes widened. Who is it? Where can I find them? Kakashi sighed softly. His name is Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin and your father's teacher. He serves as the village's master of information gathering. Long ago, he wanted to take you with him to keep you safe, but the timing wasn't right. Instead, he asked me to keep an eye on you. I've done my best to protect you from the shadows. Naruko nodded thoughtfully, her mind racing. Do you know when I'll meet him? Kakashi shook his head. He never said, but one day you will. That much I can promise. Changing the subject, Kakashi asked, what do you recall from that encounter with the Chunin? Naruko thought for a moment. They led me into the forest, told me why, then came at me. After that, everything went blank until I woke up in your apartment. That's not the full story, Kakashi explained patiently, recounting what had really taken place. Naruko's jaw dropped. I really did all that? She asked in disbelief. Kakashi nodded. Yes. And I believe you awakened a unique ability during that moment, a special dōjutsu. Naruko's eyes widened. Like the Hyuga or Uchiha clans? That's right, Kakashi said. Now, can you focus chakra into your eyes? Naruko nodded and followed his instructions. As she concentrated, her cerulean eyes transformed into a deep crimson with black spirals resembling whirlpools. At the center of each eye were three curved shapes that seemed to rotate slowly. Kakashi pulled out a kunai to let her see her reflection. Wow, Naruko exclaimed, bouncing with excitement. These look incredible. And I can even see your chakra, Kakashi-sensei. This is amazing, I'm one step closer to becoming Hokage. Kakashi smiled under his mask at her enthusiasm. Calm down. With proper training, you'll learn to control this power. First, we'll work on chakra control, then later I'll teach you new techniques once your foundation is steady. As for your dōjutsu, we'll discover its abilities together, since there are no records of it. Naruko nodded eagerly. Let's begin with a tree walking exercise, Kakashi explained. He demonstrated by calmly walking up the trunk of a tree. You need to focus a fixed amount of chakra to the soles of your feet. Too little and you'll slip, too much and. Before he could finish, Naruko dashed toward a tree and attempted it herself. She barely made one step before being pushed back by her own energy, tumbling into a nearby pond with a splash. Kakashi's sweat dropped. Just like her mother, he thought with an amused sigh. Naruko climbed out of the water, soaked but determined. That's what happens when you use too much chakra, Kakashi explained with a calm smile. You could have told me that before I tried it. Naruko pouted. I was about to, if you had waited, Kakashi replied. Naruko rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. Sorry. Now watch carefully, Kakashi instructed. Focus on how much chakra I use, he resumed walking up the tree with ease. Naruko concentrated, using her new eyes to observe the balance of energy at his feet. Before she could try again, Kakashi threw a kunai into the ground near her. Use that to mark your progress each time. I want you to reach at least halfway up the tree by sunset. With that, he leapt onto a nearby branch and opened his orange book again, clearly multitasking. Naruko picked up the kunai and ran at the tree. She made it 5 feet before slipping, then marked her progress. This is harder than it looks, she muttered. Attempt after attempt, Naruko improved little by little. By sunset, she had surpassed the halfway mark. Kakashi was satisfied. Good work today. Be here at the same time tomorrow. He disappeared in a swirl of leaves, leaving Naruko smiling despite her exhaustion. I'm getting closer to becoming Hokage. She thought proudly as she headed back toward the village. But before going home, she had one more place to check. Half an hour later, Naruko stood atop the fourth Hokage's monument, scanning the stone surface for a particular seal she had read about in her father's letter. At first, nothing stood out. Then, instinctively channeling chakra to her eyes, she spotted a glowing blue kanji for seal. Placing her hand on it and adding chakra, she suddenly vanished from the mountaintop. "Where am I?" Naruko whispered, astonished by what she saw next. She stood inside a vast chamber lined with countless scrolls and books. They ranged from chakra control to taijutsu, ninjutsu, genjutsu, sealing arts, and even histories of the great villages. "This is incredible." Naruko grinned from ear to ear. Ho-san really hid all this right beneath everyone's noses. Eagerly, she explored the room, noticing how everything was neatly arranged. Toward the back, she found a special seal marked with kanji. Activating it carefully, she discovered her father's personal notes, along with an ornate sword and several unusual tri-pronged kunai inscribed with symbols. The katana was beautifully crafted, its sheath patterned with Uzumaki insignias, and the hilt wrapped with designs of twin dragons, one black and one white, twining around each other. Naruko held her breath in awe. "This is a masterpiece." Naruko carefully drew the sword from its sheath, revealing its brilliance in full. The blade gleamed with a striking design. Its steel was a deep midnight black, lined with elegant crimson patterns running along either side. Naruko's eyes widened in wonder. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. Whoever forged this masterpiece had poured immense dedication and artistry into its creation. She marveled at how unexpectedly light the weapon felt in her hands, as though it weighed only a few pounds. The balance was perfect, and the design was beyond anything she had ever seen. This must be one of the finest swords in the entire Land of Fire, Naruko thought in amazement. After appreciating it a moment longer, she carefully slid the blade back into its sheath, resealed the case, and decided it was time to move on. "I should probably take a couple of scrolls with me too," Naruko said with a bright smile stretching across her face. The next afternoon, Naruko lay on her back, catching her breath after another round of training. She was still working hard on the tree walking exercise and had managed to climb nearly 3/4 of the way up. "I'll master this before the day ends," she declared with determination, dashing once more toward the scarred training tree, its bark marked with dozens of shallow cuts from her practice. This time, Naruko pushed past her previous mark and climbed several feet higher before her footing slipped. She caught herself with a swipe at the trunk, and though exhausted, she managed a small, satisfied smile. "Huff. Huff. Progress. Huff," she whispered through her heavy breathing. From his spot leaning against another tree, Kakashi watched with a gentle smile visible even beneath his mask. Just like her father, he thought. The same determination burned in Naruko's eyes as he had once seen in her father's. She's a blend of both Minato-sensei and Kushina-senpai. The flame of the will of fire shines brightly within her. They would be proud. "Hey, Kakashi-sensei," Naruko called, pulling him from his thoughts. "Yes, Naruko?" Kakashi replied, closing his book. "What were my parents like?" she asked with a curious expression. Kakashi carefully tucked his book away and considered his words. "Your mother, from what I remember, was incredibly loving and compassionate. She always went out of her way to help people. She was a remarkable kunoichi, skilled in both kenjutsu and fuinjutsu. Many admired her strength, and she earned the nickname the Red Hot Habanero. She was also spirited and bold. When she first joined the academy, she even declared she would become the first female Hokage. She loved ramen and had quite the mischievous side too. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?" Naruko beamed with pride at hearing this. Kakashi continued, "Your father was calm, wise, and always thoughtful. He cared deeply for others and was devoted to protecting the people he loved, especially your mother. You share many of his qualities, his focus, his strength, and even his gentle smile. With your whisker marks aside, if you grew your hair just a bit differently, the resemblance would be uncanny." Naruko lowered her gaze slightly, listening carefully as he went on. "After my own father was gone and I became a young shinobi, Minato became like a guiding light to me. I admired him greatly. I know it's not always easy to understand the choices our parents made, but both Minato and Kushina cherished you deeply even before you were born. They would be overjoyed to see the person you're becoming." Naruko's eyes sparkled as she lifted her head. "I'm not upset, Kakashi-sensei. I love my parents. They did what they believed was right to protect everyone. If I were in their place, I'd want to be just as brave." She grinned, filling Kakashi with a quiet pride. That's very mature of you, Naruko, he said warmly. Then with a playful tone, he added, tell you what, if you can finish this tree walking exercise, dinner is on me. Anything you'd like. Deal. Naruko cheered, sprinting back toward the tree with renewed enthusiasm. Later that evening. Naruko sat at Ichiraku Ramen, happily eating her 10th bowl in a row with no signs of slowing. Think you've had enough, Naruko? Kakashi asked, looking more baffled with each empty bowl stacked beside her. Maybe after this one, she replied between mouthfuls, her words muffled by noodles. Kakashi sighed with a comical sweat drop. What have I gotten myself into? I still can't believe you managed to complete that exercise, he said, watching her cheerfully dig into another serving. Well, you know how to motivate someone, Kakashi-sensei. Naruko replied before laughing, then thanking Tucci as he brought yet another steaming bowl to her. Tucci chuckled warmly, always treating Naruko like family and clearly delighted to see her so happy. Thanks, Tucci-san. Keep them coming, Naruko exclaimed with her usual sparkle of energy. By the time she finished, 26 empty bowls lined the counter. Tucci looked delighted, while Kakashi sat nearby, dramatically weeping anime style over his empty wallet. Ah, that was perfect. I'll see you tomorrow, Kakashi-sensei, Naruko said cheerfully, waving as she headed back to her apartment. Yeah. See you tomorrow, Kakashi replied, slipping his wallet away with a sigh. There goes all my money. Just like Kushina-senpai, he thought with a fond smile, vanishing in a swirl of leaves. 1 year later, the day before the academy begins. The evening sky shimmered with stars as Naruko sat atop the 4th Hokage's carved likeness on the Hokage monument, gazing peacefully over the Hidden Leaf village. A soft smile spread across her face. Over the past year, under the guidance of her new mentor, Hatake Kakashi, she had grown stronger than she ever imagined. Between Kakashi's training and the wealth of knowledge she discovered in her father's small library, Naruko's progress had been remarkable. In the first 2 months, Kakashi focused on improving Naruko's chakra control, ensuring she could use her energy with precision. Once satisfied, he introduced her to the 3 foundational academy techniques, the transformation jutsu, henge, the substitution jutsu, kawarimi, and the clone jutsu, bunshine. Naruko quickly mastered the first 2, but the clone jutsu proved far more difficult. For weeks she tried, yet every attempt ended the same way, the clone appeared pale, shaky, and unable to stand. Frustrated, Naruko still refused to give up. Recognizing the problem, Kakashi decided to introduce her to an alternative, the Shadow Clone Jutsu, Kage Bunshine no Jutsu. Flashback, 9 months ago. Kakashi had been silently hoping that Naruko would finally succeed with the clone jutsu. Yet again, the result was the same. Sighing, he called her over. Alright, Naruko. I'm going to show you a more advanced version of the clone technique. It's called the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruko pouted, her blue eyes narrowing. Another clone? How can I do a harder one if I can't even get the basic one right? Kakashi knelt beside her patiently. Because this technique works differently. The normal clone jutsu requires delicate control, but the shadow clone uses more chakra, and you have an extraordinary amount for your age. Being an Uzumaki means your reserves are naturally vast. On top of that, the special seal placed within you increases your chakra every day. You already have reserves comparable to experienced ninja, even though you're only 7. That's why the basic version doesn't suit you. Naruko tilted her head, curiosity softening her frustration. So, you think I can actually do this one? I believe so. But remember, use it wisely. Each clone shares your chakra, and if you create too many at once, it can leave you exhausted. Another thing, when a shadow clone disappears, everything it experienced will return to you, like memories. That can make your training much faster. He showed her the hand sign. Now, give it a try. Naruko took a deep breath, formed the seal, and shouted, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Kakashi's single visible eye widened in disbelief. Surrounding Naruko were not 1, not 2, but over 100 identical copies, each smiling confidently. Kakashi blinked. Well. This certainly changes everything. Back to the present. Indeed, it did. For the next 9 months, Kakashi refined Naruko's skills, teaching her taijutsu basics, shuriken practice, speed training, and physical conditioning. To his amazement, Naruko not only kept up but often surpassed his expectations. In his eyes, she was a natural prodigy, though the academy would likely never see her hidden potential. After training sessions, Naruko often slipped quietly into the fourth Hokage's head chamber, where her father's books and scrolls were stored. She read everything she could find: chakra control techniques, histories of other villages, sealing arts, taijutsu styles, and even swordsmanship. With the help of her shadow clones, she could read dozens of books at once, instantly gaining the knowledge when the clones dispersed. One day, while browsing scrolls, she discovered a taijutsu style known as the Whirling Tide Fist, a martial art from her Uzumaki heritage. The style emphasized fluid movement, swift strikes, and adaptability. Naruko admired how it combined speed, precision, and power. She knew it would take years to master, but she was determined to learn. Her studies also sparked a deep fascination with kenjutsu, the art of sword fighting. To her surprise, handling a blade felt natural, and within a month, she had already grasped the basics. Among all her studies, Fuinjutsu, the art of seals, became her favorite. The complexity of seals felt oddly familiar, as if it ran in her very blood. With every lesson, Naruko uncovered more of her natural talent, even crafting special seals to improve her strength and speed during training. Yet one mystery remained unsolved: her unusual eye ability, a dōjutsu. Though she searched her father's library, she found nothing explaining it. Still, she noticed that it allowed her to understand seals more easily, which only fueled her curiosity about what else it might be capable of. Naruko's thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice. "So, this is where you've been, Naruko?" She turned to see Kakashi, leaning casually against the stone with a small book in hand. "Couldn't sleep," Naruko admitted with a gentle shrug. "So I came here." Kakashi nodded. "Tomorrow's a big day. Are you excited to start at the academy?" Naruko sighed. "Honestly, not really. I already know most of what they'll be teaching. Plus, I don't want to get sent out of class again for no reason. But the third Hokage said a new instructor would be coming, so maybe things will be different this time." Kakashi's tone shifted, becoming serious. "Remember what I told you, don't reveal everything I've taught you, and don't talk about your parents yet. Keep your true skills hidden until graduation." "I know," Naruko replied with a small smile. "A ninja's greatest strength is what others don't see. Until then, I'll wear my mask, the playful, clumsy Naruko. No one needs to know the truth just yet." She looked back at the glowing village below, her heart filled with determination. Tomorrow would be the beginning of her new journey, and she was ready. Kakashi nodded and said calmly, "All right, there's one more thing. Once you return to the academy, I'll need to resume my regular jonin responsibilities. Still, I'll continue to train you whenever I have free time. When I'm away, I'll leave you with a training routine to follow, alright? Also, don't push yourself too hard with the shadow clones." Naruko gave a sheepish nod in response. "Make sure you get enough rest. I'll stop by before you head out. See you later." With that, Kakashi disappeared in a graceful swirl of leaves. "Wow, I really need to learn that technique," thought Naruko as she too left for the day. The next morning. Naruko was still sound asleep when the morning sunlight crept through her window, warming her face and making her stir. Slowly, she got up, stretched, and headed to the bathroom to freshen up with a shower and brushing her teeth. Once dressed in her usual bright outfit, a knock came at the door. Naruko opened it to find Kakashi there, still holding his little book as always. "Yo," he greeted casually as he stepped inside. "Hey, Kakashi-ni-san. What brings you here so early? If I remember right, you're never up at this time," Naruko asked curiously, narrowing her eyes in playful suspicion. "I just came to wish you good luck on your first day back at the academy," Kakashi said, handing her a rolled-up scroll. "This is your training schedule for while I'm gone. I'll be leaving on a mission today." Naruko accepted the scroll, tucking it carefully into her orange jacket. "Thanks. When will you be back?" she asked. Kakashi shrugged lightly. "Maybe 3 weeks. Or a month. When I return, I'll teach you a few new techniques. Oh, by the way, what time are you supposed to be at the academy?" 8 o'clock. "Why?" Naruko tilted her head, a little confused. "It's already 8:15, Kakashi replied in his usual lazy tone. Naruko's eyes widened in alarm. Her first day of the new term, and she was already late. Seeing her panic, Kakashi offered casually, "When I'm late, I usually give an excuse people can believe. Just tell them." Academy, 15 minutes later. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed down the academy hallway before stopping at the classroom door. Naruko slid it open, and the entire class turned to look at her. Hey. Sorry I'm late. I, got lost on the path of life, Naruko said with a sheepish laugh, scratching the back of her head. A few giggles rippled through the room, while most of the students exchanged sweat-dropped expressions. At the front, Instructor Umino Irika's brow twitched with irritation. With his exaggerated big head expression he shouted. Naruko. That is the most ridiculous excuse I've ever heard. Now, take a seat. Naruko quickly nodded and hurried to an open seat near the back. From there, she glanced around the classroom and noticed several familiar faces from the village's well-known clans. Nara Shikamaru, heir of the Nara clan, known for intelligence and strategy. His lazy demeanor often disguised his sharp mind. Akimichi Choji, cheerful and always snacking, his clan specialized in techniques that used great amounts of energy. Yamanaka Ino, the bright-haired heiress of the Yamanaka clan, skilled in mind-related techniques. Inuzuka Kiba, accompanied by his Ninken partner, known for keen senses and teamwork. Aburame Shino, mysterious and calm, hidden behind his glasses and coat, his clan worked with unique insects. Hyuga Hinata, the gentle heiress of the Hyuga clan, with her clan's famed Byakugan eyes. Uchiha Sasuke, the last of the Uchiha clan, quiet and determined, wearing the clan's crest proudly. Haruno Sakura, a girl with bright pink hair and sharp green eyes, not from a clan but eager to prove herself. Naruko considered the situation. Maybe she could send a shadow clone to attend class while she focused on training. After all, she reasoned, her time might be better spent working through Kakashi's regimen. She chuckled to herself at the thought. Her daydream ended when Iruka started teaching. Naruko leaned her chin on her hand and, before long, nodded off into a light nap. 2 years later. Heavy breathing echoed through Training Ground 9. Naruko lay flat on her back, sweating from an intense workout. The ground was marked with signs of rigorous training, though nothing that couldn't be fixed later. It looks like this training ground won't hold out much longer, Kakashi commented, catching Naruko's attention. Wait, Kakashi ni-san, I thought you were on a mission? Naruko asked, sitting up curiously. Actually, we are about to head on a special mission together, Kakashi replied with a smile in his eye. We? What do you mean? Naruko asked, blinking in surprise. It's time, Naruko. We're going to Uzushiogakur, Kakashi explained warmly. Really? Naruko gasped, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Yes. Pack for a week, food, sleeping gear, and anything else you'll need. Meet me at the North Gate in 1 hour, Kakashi instructed before vanishing in another swirl of leaves. Naruko's grin spread wide as she dashed off, this time in a playful swirl of wind. 1 hour later, North Gate. Naruko and Kakashi stood ready at the village gates. Are you prepared, Naruko? Kakashi asked, receiving a determined nod in return. Together, they leapt into the treetops, dashing gracefully from branch to branch toward Uzushiogakur. Finally. I've waited 3 years for this. Uzushiogakur, here we come. Naruko thought, determination and excitement fueling her every step. 1 day later. A day had passed since Naruko and Kakashi had left Konoha for Uzushiogakur no Sato, hoping to uncover as much information as possible about Naruko's mysterious dōjutsu. For years, she had wondered about its origins, and now, she might finally receive some long-awaited answers. Kakashi ni, how much farther until we reach Uzushiogakur? Naruko asked with eager anticipation. We're almost there, Kakashi replied with a calm smile. Perhaps another 10 to 15 minutes. Naruko's pace quickened, excitement shining in her eyes as Kakashi matched her stride. Soon, the two leapt through the final line of trees and landed on open ground, only to freeze at the sight before them. The once proud village of Uzushiogakur lay in ruins. Tall buildings that had once reached for the sky were now shattered remnants of their former glory. A wide river flowed through the land, connected by great bridges, while steep hills and waters formed natural barriers around the village. It was clear why Uzushiogakur had been able to stand strong for so long. Yet, despite its defenses, it had eventually fallen. Naruko's expression softened with sorrow as she whispered, Kakashi ni. Who could have done this? Kakashi's single eye grew serious. It's believed that several villages, Kiri, Iwa, and others, joined forces long ago. They feared the strength of the Uzumaki clan's sealing arts. If even one skilled seal master could restrain a tailed beast, imagine what an entire village of them could accomplish. Out of fear, they allied against Uzushiogakur. This conflict contributed to the Third Shinobi War. Still, the exact details remain uncertain. Naruko clenched her small hands in determination. One day, I'll rebuild my ancestors' homeland and restore it to the greatness it once held. Perhaps it could even become my headquarters. A place where the Uzumaki legacy shines again. With that thought, Naruko and Kakashi walked toward the remains of the village gates. As they explored, Naruko noticed that although many structures were reduced to rubble, their foundations were sturdy. Rebuilding would be challenging, but not impossible. She silently hoped that someday, other Uzumaki survivors might hear of the village's restoration and return. Kakashi, where do you think we should start? Naruko asked, her curious eyes scanning the ruins. Let's check the Uzukage's tower first, Kakashi suggested. If anything survived, it would be in the archives. That makes sense. So, if we find these anchovies, we might learn more about my dōjutsu, Naruko said brightly. Kakashi's sweat dropped. Naruko. It's archives, not anchovies. They sound the same to me, she muttered with a playful grin, causing Kakashi to sigh but smile faintly beneath his mask. The pair soon arrived before the Uzukage's tower, one of the only structures untouched by destruction. It rose proudly, much like the Hokage's tower, but with the Uzumaki swirl emblazoned as its crest, a symbol strikingly similar to Naruko's own dōjutsu. What are we waiting for? Let's go inside, Naruko exclaimed, moving forward, but Kakashi placed a hand on her shoulder, stopping her. He summoned a shadow clone, which carefully approached the doorway. Suddenly, glowing seals appeared, and the clone vanished in a burst of light. Naruko's eyes widened in surprise. That, Kakashi said firmly, is why we must never rush ahead. A shinobi always looks beneath the beneath. This lesson is more important than any technique, you must remember it. Naruko nodded, swallowing nervously. All right. But how do we get in? Kakashi tested with another clone. This time, the seal did not react, and the path seemed safe. Together, they stepped inside the Uzukage's tower. The interior was untouched, pristine compared to the surrounding ruins. It felt almost as if time itself had preserved it. If this is anything like the Hokage's tower, the entrance to the archive should be here, Kakashi murmured, opening a door that revealed a staircase leading underground. Naruko hurried forward but stopped when she heard a soft thump. Turning, she saw Kakashi sitting awkwardly on the floor. Kakashi, don't be lazy now, Naruko teased. With a sheepish chuckle, Kakashi admitted, it's not that simple. Try activating your dōjutsu, and you'll see. Naruko focused, and her bright blue eyes shifted into swirling red irises with 3 black tomoe dancing within. She gasped as the barrier revealed itself, a protective Uzumaki seal that allowed only those of Uzumaki blood to pass. I see. So this is why you can't follow me. Kakashi nodded. Exactly. But Naruko, are you sure you want to go on alone? Naruko placed a hand on her heart and nodded firmly. I didn't come all this way just to stop here. I need to know the truth. Trust me, Kakashi, I'll be careful. Kakashi's shoulders relaxed in quiet acceptance. All right. But promise me you'll return safely. I promise. Naruko gave him a bright smile before descending into the archives. Kakashi watched her go, a fond sigh escaping him. She really is like her parents, brave, determined, and filled with hope. More than she realizes. With Naruko. Naruko carefully descended the stairs and found herself in a vast chamber. On her left, the room was rather plain, with only a few scrolls scattered about. But when she turned to the right, her eyes widened in amazement. There stood a shrine, proudly displaying 3 Uzumaki crests arranged in a triangle. Beneath the symbols were rows of masks, 3 rows of 9, each designed with expressions resembling traditional Hanyu masks. Separating Naruko from the shrine was a pit of flickering black flames. The unusual fire fascinated her, for she had never seen flames of that color before. They danced mysteriously, almost as though they could consume even ordinary fire. Curious, Naruko studied the masks one by one until she noticed an empty space. Above it, she read the kanji for Spirit Guardian's mask. Naruko frowned slightly. That doesn't sound right. Something about that mask feels troubling, she murmured. But I can't worry about that right now. I have other priorities. Activating her dōjutsu, Naruko scanned the room until her gaze fell upon a large swirl pattern glowing with 3 bright blue tomoe. As she approached, the spiral began to spin hypnotically. Before she could react, she was suddenly drawn inside. In an instant, the wall glowed white and then vanished, leaving no trace of her presence. Dash. With Naruko. Naruko groaned softly as she sat up, rubbing her head in confusion. What just happened? She thought. Welcome, Naruko. I have been waiting for you, a deep, calm voice suddenly spoke. Ah! Naruko yelped in surprise, her face paling as she took several quick breaths. Oh, my apologies. I didn't mean to startle you, the voice chuckled warmly. You didn't scare me, just surprised me, that's all, Naruko said, steadying herself before looking at the speaker. Sitting cross-legged on a cushion before her was an elderly man with long white hair, a distinguished mustache, and a neatly kept goatee. He wore traditional armor reminiscent of the first Hokage style, with the crest of Uzushio Gakure proudly displayed on his shoulders. Two elegantly curved swords rested on his back, and on his forehead protector was engraved the Uzumaki insignia. Who are you? Naruko asked cautiously, watching him with alert eyes. The man gave a soft sigh. Young ones these days are always so quick to guard themselves. He muttered good-naturedly before gesturing to the cushion before him. Come, sit. I'll answer your questions. Naruko hesitated, then nodded and sat across from him. So, who are you? My name is Uzumaki Arashi, he said with a proud smile. Founder of Uzushio Gakure and the very first Uzukage. It is an honor to finally meet you, Uzumaki Naruko. Naruko's eyes widened. You know my name? But we've never met. How do you know me? Arashi chuckled softly. I know much about you, Naruko. I know your name, your parents, the extraordinary power sealed within you, he said, gesturing gently toward her stomach, and even how your village misunderstands you. They do not see that you protect them every single day. I have watched over you since the moment you were born. You are gifted, compassionate, and stronger than you realize. That is why I chose you. Chose me? Chose me for what? Naruko asked, her voice filled with curiosity. To inherit my dōjutsu and continue the Uzumaki legacy, Arashi replied, his eyes glowing with red swirls and three tomoe like whirlpools. Naruko gasped as she stared into his gaze. But why me? What makes me so special? She asked. Because you have the heart to bring peace where others only see conflict, Arashi said firmly. You are determined, resilient, and kind. Even after all you have faced, there is no hatred in your heart. You are a true Uzumaki. This is why I entrust you with the Shinwagon, the mythic eye. The Shinwagon? Naruko repeated in awe. Yes, Arashi nodded. Other than myself, you are the only Uzumaki to awaken it. Its abilities surpass even the Sharingan and Byakugan, and rival the Rinnegan. The Shinwagon can even copy Kekkei Genkai, except for other dōjutsu. Naruko's jaw dropped. That's incredible. Arashi smiled knowingly. I imagine you've already noticed how easily you can read and understand sealing techniques. With mastery, the Shinwagon could allow you to inscribe seals with only a glance. Imagine being able to teleport instantly, not with tools, but with thought alone. That is the potential of your eyes. Naruko leaned forward eagerly. So, what else can it do? Arashi chuckled. The rest, young one, you must discover for yourself. If I simply told you everything, you would never learn the true value of your gift. Naruko sighed in frustration but nodded. Arashi's expression softened as he stood. Before I go, I wish to give you something precious, a power that saved me countless times. The chakra chains of the Uzumaki. Most emerge from the user's back, but ours are special. They can manifest from the very ground beneath you, making them both versatile and powerful. With a flick of his wrist, 5 shining silver chains rose gracefully from the floor, tipped with gleaming points. They hovered around him like guardians, before vanishing at a snap of his fingers. Naruko's eyes sparkled. That was amazing. Can I learn it too? Instead of answering directly, Arashi placed a hand gently on her head. A warm surge of energy flowed through her body, making her Shinwagon flare briefly. Now, try it, Arashi encouraged. Naruko closed her eyes, focused, and when she opened them again, a single chain shot forth before her. Unlike Arashi's silver ones, hers was pitch black with a crimson-tipped end. Her grin stretched ear to ear. I did it. Thank you so much, Uzumaki Arashi, she said, bowing deeply. It is no trouble. Family always looks after family, Arashi said warmly. One day, we will meet again. When you encounter the 9 tails, return to me. That creature is often misunderstood, but I believe there is kindness hidden within. With those final words, Arashi's form faded into light, leaving Naruko alone in the chamber. She glanced around and pouted. Oh. How am I supposed to get out of here now? 30 minutes later. Kakashi was quietly reading his book when he noticed Naruko making her way up the stairs. Relief washed over him when he saw that she was perfectly fine and unharmed. "Yo. Did you manage to find what you were looking for?" Kakashi asked casually, earning a small nod from Naruko. His visible eye curved into a smile at her response. "Good. In that case, let's head back. The sooner we return to Konoha, the better," he said. Naruko nodded again. Though she had only been away for a few days, she already found herself missing home. "Kakashi-sensei, before we leave, can I check something quickly?" "I'll only take a few minutes," Naruko asked. Kakashi let out a soft sigh before giving her permission. She darted off into the Uzukage's tower, while Kakashi leaned against the wall, stifling a yawn, book still in hand. With Naruko. Naruko stood in the Uzukage's office, which was surprisingly well preserved despite the years. On the large scroll she carried, she carefully drew a detailed sealing pattern. Once it was complete, she began creating groups of shadow clones, 50 at a time, and stored them inside the scroll. By the end, she had sealed away nearly 500 clones. Summoning one more, she gave her instructions clearly. "You know what to do. Help clean the village as much as you can. When your chakra is nearly gone, summon another clone to take your place, but never more than 5 at a time. Understood?" The clone saluted cheerfully before taking the scroll and rushing off. Naruko's heart swelled with determination. One of her dreams was to restore her clan's homeland, so that one day, members of the Uzumaki family could gather here once more. 500 clones wouldn't be enough to finish the job, but it was a promising start. Looking around the office, Naruko spotted several scrolls scattered on shelves and desks. Many contained sealing techniques, knowledge she was eager to preserve. She pulled out a storage seal and carefully placed each scroll inside for safekeeping. Just as she was about to leave, her eyes fell on a glass display case. Inside rested a sword. Intrigued, she approached, opened the case, and lifted it out. It was a katana, similar in design to her own, though strikingly different in color. The sheath was pitch black, decorated with the red Uzumaki crest. The hilt bore twin dragons, one white and one black, coiling together in balance. Drawing the blade, Naruko marveled at its craftsmanship. The metal gleamed a deep crimson, adorned with swirling black patterns. She studied it thoughtfully. Could this have been forged by her ancestors, a counterpart to her own blade? The mystery would take time to unravel. For now, she sealed the sword away with care and made her way back. A few minutes later. Naruko reappeared before Kakashi, a bright grin on her face. Kakashi noticed a hint of fatigue in her expression and raised a suspicious brow. "What exactly did you do in there?" he asked. "I just gathered some of my ancestors' scrolls and a few other things," Naruko replied with an innocent smile. "Anyway, what are we waiting for? I'm starving. I want to grab some Ichiraku ramen before the day ends." Before Kakashi could respond, Naruko dashed forward energetically, her laughter echoing through the ruins. Sigh. She does realize we're 2 days away from the village, right? Kakashi thought, shaking his head. Still, a smile tugged at his lips as he followed after her. Dear YouTube family. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join our growing community. Your support means the world and keeps me motivated to bring even more content your way. Until next time. 6 Path Weeb.